Who is this God you speak of, Naomi? Why does your voice tremble when you say his name? Why do your eyes lift upward, even when your heart is shattered? Is he different from Chemosh, God of my people, who receives sacrifices but gives no peace? Is he more than a name spoken in fear, more than a God of storms, harvests, and stone? Can a foreigner find refuge beneath his wings? Can a Moabite woman, widowed, barren, broken, belong to a people not her own? I did not grow up with his stories. I do not know his laws. I have never walked the streets of Jerusalem or stood before his temple. But something stirs in me when I hear of him. Not dread, but a longing. Not a demand, but a call. You say he led your people through wilderness, that he parted seas and brought down manna from heaven. You say he is holy, but also kind. I do not know the way ahead. I do not understand why he allowed famine or loss or graves in foreign soil. But I saw your God even in your silence, Naomi, in your tears, in the strength it took for you to rise from Moab's dust and walk home with empty hands. And I could not remain among gods who do not speak, who see nothing, and offer no comfort. So I walked with you, not knowing if your people would receive me, not knowing if I would ever belong. But something deeper than belonging pulled me forward, a whisper I could not name. Come. Come and be grafted into what you did not plant. Come and be covered by what you did not earn. Come and find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Was it madness? Was it foolishness to leave behind the familiar for the unknown? Or was it the first step of faith? Now I look back and I see I was not wandering. I was being led. Every step from Moab's hills to Bethlehem's fields was written by unseen hands. Every tear was caught in the palm of a faithful God. I was once a stranger, but he called me daughter. I was barren, but he filled my arms. I was among the forgotten, but he gave me a place in his eternal story. Who is this God? He is the one who sees the outsider, the one who writes hope into empty wombs, the one who plants redemption into the soil of loss. He is the God of Israel, and now he is my God. The road that broke me. We had not known what famine felt like until it reached Moab. It did not arrive suddenly, but crept in like a slow silence, gnawing at the edges of the earth and our hearts. Elimelech came with his wife Naomi and their sons Mahlon and Chilion, foreigners in our land, but desperate like the rest of us. They looked worn, as if they had carried grief on their backs, even before they left Bethlehem. I met Mahlon in the season of hunger. He spoke little, but his eyes were kind. When he asked for my hand, it was not out of passion or haste, but from a quiet dignity that felt like shelter. And I said yes, not knowing that love could still grow in such barren places. Naomi welcomed me. There was pain in her, even then, like a lamp flickering behind thick glass. But she showed me what a mother-in-law could be, gentle, firm, deeply rooted in something I could not yet name. In the early days, I asked her often about her God, not because I was ready to believe, but because I was drawn. There was something different about the way she spoke of him, not as a superstition or a bargaining God, but as someone who knew her, even in her bitterness. But joy does not linger long. When death waits at your door, first Elimelech, then Chilion, then my Marlon, 3 graves in a foreign land, 3 women left behind, empty, widowed, unmoored. Orpah wept, I wept. Naomi said nothing for days. When she finally spoke, it was to tell us to go. Return to your homes, she said, to your mothers, your gods. I have nothing left to give. I knew she was right. We were young. We could begin again, but something in me could not return. Not just because of love for her, but because I had come to the edge of a truth too sacred to leave behind. This God of hers, he had allowed sorrow. Yes, but he had also surrounded us, even in Moab, with whispers of himself in Naomi's prayer, in her grief, that did not curse, but wrestled, and in Marlon's last breath, when he whispered, Yahweh sees. What kind of God sees and stays? What kind of God weeps and still calls? I could not turn away from that kind of presence. So I held Naomi's hand on the road, and when she begged me again to return, I said words I did not fully understand, but that burned like fire in my bones. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. I thought she would smile, but her face only grew, more shadowed, as if my words pierced her deeper than she expected. She said nothing more, and we walked the rest of the way in silence. When we entered Bethlehem, the women stared. "Is this Naomi?" they asked. She answered with her back to them, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me." She was home, but she felt lost. I was the foreigner, but I had found the first seed of faith in the brokenness of the journey. We had nothing, no husbands, no fields, no sons, but we had arrived at the edge of something sacred. And though Naomi could not see it yet, I knew we had not come back empty. Something unseen had walked with us on that long road, and he would not leave us now. The field that found me. It is a strange thing to hunger. In a land of promise, we had returned to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. The air smelled of turning soil and warm grain, but our home was still hollow. Naomi sat in the shadow of her sorrow, and I moved quietly around her, tending to silence, sweeping away grief. But grief does not fill the stomach, and silence does not feed the soul. So I rose one morning, heart pounding, with a courage not my own, and said, "Let me go into the fields, Naomi. Perhaps I might find favor somewhere." She nodded, eyes distant. I stepped onto soil I did not know, among a people who did not yet see me as one of them. They knew what I was, a Moabite, an outsider, the widow who clung to another widow's God. But I had learned that faith begins not in full understanding, but in movement. So I moved. I gleaned, quiet, careful, unnoticed. I bent low, in the corners of the field, fingers gathering the fallen grain, like a beggar catching crumbs beneath the table of God. And then I felt eyes on me, not cruel, not mocking, but watchful. He spoke to his workers first, asked about me, and then he came to me. He did not speak like the others. There was no disdain in his tone, no suspicion in his glance. He called me daughter. Who was I that a man of such standing would speak gently to a foreign woman? That he would offer not just permission to glean, but protection. He told me I could drink from the jars drawn by his young men. He said I could stay near the women in his field. He said I had come under the wings of the God of Israel. Wings. I had felt more like one falling than flying, more like one wandering than sheltered. But when he said it, something within me stirred, a strange stillness, as if heaven itself had paused to whisper, "I see you." I looked at him and asked softly, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, since I am a foreigner?" And Boaz answered not with flattery, but with truth. "It has been fully told me," he said, "what you have done for your mother-in-law, how you left your father and mother and your native land to come to a people you did not know before." He spoke as if the faith it took to leave Moab was not forgotten, as if my hidden prayers in the night had been heard, as if every tear I shed behind Naomi's silence had been gathered into the record of heaven. And I realized then, God does not just watch over nations and kings. He watches over the hands that glean in fields. He watches over the stranger, the foreigner, the widow, who does not yet know her story matters. When I returned home that evening, my arms full, Naomi looked at the grain and then at me. "Where did you glean today?" she asked, and her voice carried something I had not heard in weeks. Hope. I told her the man's name. "Boaz," I said, and the way she looked at me, I will never forget it, as though a match had been struck in the darkness, as though a long-forgotten name had come to breathe again. "He is one of our redeemers," she whispered. Redeemer. I did not yet know what that meant in full, only that I had gone out empty and returned full. I had stepped into a field that was not mine and found mercy waiting in it, and the God I had chosen in sorrow had already chosen me in love. At his feet. There are moments when obedience feels like walking into mystery with open eyes, not because I understand the road, but because I trust the one who bids me go. Naomi came to me one evening, her voice tender, her eyes lit with something deeper than memory. She said, "Shall I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you?" Rest. That word had become foreign to me, buried beneath ashes and silence, beneath long days of gleaning. "Boaz," Naomi said gently, "is our kinsman. Tonight he winnows barley at the threshing floor." Then she gave instructions, unexpected ones, to wash, to anoint myself, to dress in my best garments. I was to wait, to watch, to approach him after he had eaten and drunk, to uncover his feet and lie down. It sounded strange to my Moabite ears, but Naomi's voice no longer carried grief alone. It carried hope. I wanted to honor that hope. So I went, beneath the hush of night, the wind whispering through the barley. He lay at the end of the heap, sleeping. I trembled, not from fear of Boaz, but of the holy thread God was weaving. I uncovered his feet and lay down. What woman dares such a thing? What widow, what foreigner comes not with claim, but with hope for mercy? At midnight he stirred. Who are you? I breathed in deeply and whispered, I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer. Wings, the same word he once spoke over me in the field. Now I asked not for grain, but for refuge. He could have turned me away. But Boaz did not shame. He blessed. He said I had shown even greater kindness now than before. He called me noble. He said all his people knew of my worth. I wept, but not aloud. He promised he would do all I had asked, but there was another, a nearer Redeemer. Still, Boaz would see it through. Even in kindness, he walked in righteousness. He would not take what was not rightly offered. So I remained at his feet until morning, not claiming anything, just resting in surrender. And in that resting, I found peace. Peace deeper than certainty. Before sunrise, he filled my veil with 6 measures of barley, enough to sustain Naomi and me. I returned home, not only with grain, but with the fragrance of redemption upon me. Naomi saw it in my eyes. She said, Wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest until he has settled the matter today. And I waited, not in dread, but in stillness, the stillness of one who has fallen at the feet of mercy and knows God sees. He sees the humble offering of a widow. He sees the whispered prayers of the night. He sees the threshing floor where flesh and spirit meet, and he redeems. The God who sees the foreigner. I was once a stranger, a Moabite widow, daughter of a land with no covenant, a woman of sorrow, trailing behind her mother-in-law like a shadow, returning to a land not her own. No name, no heritage, no promise. Yet the God of Israel saw me, not as the world saw me, outsider, liability, remnant of ruin, but he saw my heart. He heard the silent vow on a dusty road. Your people shall be my people, your God, my God. I did not know then how deeply those words would take root in eternity. I only knew I had chosen to follow love, to entrust my life to the God who had captured Naomi's heart, even in her bitterness. I gleaned in fields not sown by my hand. I rested beneath wings I did not earn. I was redeemed by a man whose kindness mirrored the kindness of God. But Boaz was not the end. Even Obed, my son, was not the end. From my womb came a line of kings. From grief, a promise too vast to comprehend. Through my life, God whispered what he would one day proclaim from a cross. No one is too far for grace. He gives the foreigner a home. He fills the barren with harvest. He turns mourning into Messiah. I look back not with pride, but awe. Who am I, Lord, that you would choose me? A vessel from Moab, woven into the story of salvation. Even in famine, you were sowing. Even in silence, you were writing redemption. I once gathered scraps in the field. Now I behold your glory among the witnesses. You are the God who redeems, who remembers, who invites the outsider in and makes her family. So let it be known in every generation. The Lord is not only the God of Israel, but of all who believe, the God of the widow who clings, the lowly who say yes. He is the God who made this Ruth a part of Christ's story. And he is the God who still calls the outsider home. Always.
If this message has blessed your heart, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Help us spread the light so that others too may find comfort, truth, and hope. Let's walk this quiet road of faith together.